Anarchy Reigns is the sequel to the blood-soaked Wii-exclusive Mad World created by Platinum Games. Released in a complete dead period of 2013 after many delays, the game was destined for obscurity with middling reviews as well as being in the shadow of Platinum's more successful release of the year. Now, I bought the game on release along with the Bayonetta DLC and played this a ton. Well, I played a lot of the single-player mode and the simulation mode for the multiplayer because my internet was 10 years later, I still can't play the multiplayer in its intended form, so look at this more as a single player's experience with an old, dead fighting game. After defeating the PS3 store in Mortal Kombat to get the game and the Bayo DLC, I spent many days replaying it and I have very mixed feelings. So let's get into it!
Before we continue, we should discuss the mechanics first.
Good idea. Anarchy Reigns at its core is a fighting game. You have standard light and heavy attacks that can string into combos, a block, a dodge, a grab, and a jump. The unique part comes in the form of killer weapons. Each character is equipped with a weapon and an element. Standard weapon attacks are great for dealing with large crowds, while the heavy ones can deal massive single target damage. Depending on the character and move, you can lock an opponent into a cinematic animation. The inputs for everyone are mostly the same, meaning it's a breeze to pick up any of the characters. There's no 20 button long strings or convoluted directional inputs. Technically, there are classes a character can be, such as massive but not as much, light despite them still being jacked still, and the entire female cast. We'll get to this later. This is a simple but extremely fun fighting system that works really well with the third-person camera. Coupling this with the fact that you could be facing up to 15 other opponents in all-out brawls across a sprawling map means no two matches ever play out the same. Given the scale of stages, it's not uncommon for players to retreat, resulting in hectic chases across the whole level. To make fights even more chaotic, there are the active time events, or ATEs. These are primarily triggered by an AI director to try and bring fighters closer together or separate them, as well as causing changes to the stage's layout. They can really shake up how a fight is going, and the ridiculousness of it all fits the tone perfectly. Items are scattered around the levels and can be game changers, but never knock the effectiveness of just hurtling random debris at someone's face. There are quite a few stages for the multiplayer modes, with 4 zones that each have 2. Alhambra is certainly the easiest to navigate with its many areas suited for big fights. The enemy mobs that spawn certainly add to the liveliness of it all, but its multi-tiered verticality is what really shines. It also boasts some of the best ATEs, including one that shifts the entire stage halfway through. Port Valenda is more about having scattered areas that can make fights cramped very quickly with a larger focus on pickups. I find this one a little weaker than Alhambra, which I think is more due to having less game-changing events. Honglong is easily the most vibrant area and comes with a decent chunk of winding roads to get lost in. The ATEs can be incredibly deadly, and one can force everyone into a tiny underground area. Barry Sure has the largest levels, which unfortunately comes with a bit of lag. These two are the worst. Not terrible, but the size makes it too easy to just leg it when you're in a tough fight, and the ATs don't do a great job at forcing players to leave certain areas. There are some other small stages, but they are only used for modes with 1 to 4 players and aren't anything too special. In total, there are 9 multiplayer modes to sink your teeth into. Each mode utilizes the base mechanics while adding their own rules.
Battle Royale.
The main mode that consists of 16 players duking it out. It's the bread and butter of this game's brief lifespan and what every other mode seems to be based on. The goal is to have the most points by the end of the match. Out of all the modes, this is easily the best one.
Team Deathmatch.
Like Battle Royale, but split into teams. I find this to be fun, but given that there is no friendly fire, it can mean just ganging up on someone will trivialize a fight.
Tag Battle.
This time round, combatants are split into 4 teams of 2. You and your partner can initiate team grab attacks and block together, making an impenetrable invisible wall. I find this to be a little more fun compared to the previous one, as only having one other person to rely on makes effective teamwork much more vital.
Tag deathmatch.
A 2 versus 2 mode with the same mechanics but on the smaller arena-styled stages.
Cage match.
A one-on-one duel with no gimmicks, only pure skill. First to 3 wins is the victor.
Capture the flag.
2 teams have to try and capture the opponent's flag and carry it back to their base. I wasn't the biggest fan of this one, mainly because the bots are very bad at defending the person carrying the flag, and certain maps can favor one team.
3 team capture the flag.
Same as before, but with 3 teams and only 1 flag. This version is even more not fun for the same reasons.
Team battle.
Basically, it pits 2 teams against each other, and every 2 minutes everyone is assigned a role depending on their score. The main aim is to kill the team leader more than your opponents. Each of the 3 roles come with a variety of buffs and abilities. Although being designated healer because you're doing the worst on your team certainly feels like the game is insulting you.
Death ball.
It's football, but deadly. Actually, this mode is pretty fun, and I really like that they put effort into giving everyone unique animations for their superstar shot. It is funny to watch the bots though, as they will just charge right at the goal and then just jump there till it opens.
Survival.
Finally, we have survival, where a team of 3 have to defeat waves of enemies while not dying for 10 minutes. It's okay.
I found online there's another mode called Mad Survival.
Yes, I did see that, but it's a DLC exclusive and I am not game enough to try the PS3 PSN store again. From what I gathered, it's survival, but the waves can have the cast show up, so I don't feel like I'm missing out on much. This covers the majority of what I like about Anarchy Reigns. It's a marvelously fun time with an easy to learn fighting system. I really did enjoy my time just playing around in these modes, even if I could only do it with the bots. I just wish that this positivity could last. Campaign is the story-focused single-player mode you'll need to complete in order to unlock all the characters. There are 2 sides to pick from, black or white. It doesn't really matter since you have to play both anyway, but I went with black first to get a good idea of the game using our main man, Jack Cayman. We find ourselves on a dark and stormy, afternoon at the Asylum Bar in Alhambra. 3 officers from the Bureau of Public Safety have arrived looking for a man named Maximilian Caxton, their former squad leader gone rogue. Jack is also on the hunt for Max, and we get into a bit of an altercation with Nikolai. Exiting the bar, we are now free to explore the level. And by exploring the level, I mean beat up a bunch of overworld mobs to earn points to unlock free missions to earn more points to play a story mission and repeat till the level is finished. It's a tedious cycle that only becomes more annoying as you progress. Moving on, the first free mission is just to kill all the enemies as fast as possible. It's a decent introductory mission that utilizes the active time events to add a bit of chaos. What I don't love is how the fighting game controls handle groups of mobs. The auto-lock is not your friend, and unless you're spamming your killer weapon, you'll be hurtling towards nothing or wasting time comboing a single grunt. This is made much worse later on when enemies get bigger health pools. Large enemies such as the mutants are fun until they throw more than 2 at you. Completing a mission nets you a medal and a bunch of points towards the next mission unlock. The first main mission has Jack face off against Big Bull and his gang. The fight is not too bad. Pretty much any of the fights against named characters can be cheesed easily, but he does like to retreat and heal while you fight his goons. And yeah, pretty much all of the fights with named characters are the closest we get to the intended experience of the game, making them the best by default. Beating him makes him your bestest friend. Take notes, kids.
Please don't actually beat people up to make them your friend.
Going forward, I'll be skipping the free missions unless it's one I think stands out, since most of them are just kill X amount of enemies and I have more interesting things to discuss. Big Bull shows up for the second mission where you have to fight off a bunch of drones. You can actually choose who to play as in certain missions where allies are present, which does help shake up the monotony of just playing a single character. Bull and Jack destroy the drones, but Bull needs to get some repairs. The last Alhambra mission sees the return of Baron and Matilda from Mad World. Baron and Jack get into a fight over something. I don't know, it doesn't matter, really. From here, they try to crowbar in this narrative of Jack's daughter Stella, who was fatally shot during a BPS raid. It's one of the many instances of the game trying to delve into serious territory and make you sympathize with Jack, but the writing is not nearly good enough to make me give a shit. But it's still worth keeping in mind, as it does come up whenever the plot decides it actually wants to move forward. That's one of the main criticisms I have of this story mode. It's only a few hours long, but there are so many plot points and characters that drop in for no real reason, only to vanish for the rest of the game. I think an arcade mode that gave each character a one-off little story would have been so much better, especially with the fact that a good chunk of the cast are bounty hunters, assassins, and government agents. You could easily tie these arcade stories into the main narrative of finding Max. The next area is Port Valenda, and easily has the most variety when it comes to its free missions. The standout being a time trial race where new waves of enemies spawn every lap. The main missions, however, really suck. One has you shooting down these gargoyle mechs with controls that do not function at all. The second is a fight against the Kraken. What should be an epic fight for survival is boiled down to chucking as much shit as you can at it. One part has you catching missiles to throw back, but it's so incredibly inconsistent. Finally, you get into a fight with Leo, which is one of the times where the two sides of the story interconnect. The fight was actually a setup to lure out Max, and we learned that Max's daughter is the one who asked Jack to find him, because once again, this game likes to throw in bouts of overbearing melodrama. Mind you, we only just fought a Kraken with a pimp and a cyborg like 10 minutes ago. Honglong is our next destination, where we run into Rin, another returning character from Mad World.
Wait, didn't she die in Mad World?
Yep, and this is supposed to be a sequel, but the game doesn't seem to care, and neither do I. I beat her by spamming heavy weapon attacks, and like everyone else, she's now my bestest friend. There's a mission where you have to hit these orbs into goals, but you can't lock onto the orb, so being accurate is nigh impossible. We meet up with the dynamic duo and have an encounter with Zero, an assassin coming for Jack's head. In similar tedious fashion to Bull, he runs away at certain health thresholds. Finally, we confront Max for the first time. He's definitely a little tougher than most of the other character fights, but still just as cheesable. The cutscene here is the only time I think the tone changes kind of work, since it plays into Jack's more violent nature. But hey, don't forget Jack's daughter Stella was murdered by a BPS member. I hope you remember that, because the game is going to make sure you don't forget, because it's 100% totally important to the finale and isn't going to be completely glossed over.
You, doing okay there?
Yep, totally fine. Anyway, Max escapes, big shocker, so now we must track him down once more. Barry Sure is the locale for our final conflicts, with the first being Sasha, who Baron and Matilda decide to fight to let Jack continue onwards. Of course, in the cutscene, she beats your asses up despite actually winning the fight. Zero shows up again, but so does Rin and Big Bull. You first fight Cthulhu, a machine with way too much armor and damage. There's nothing really particular to say about the fight, you just keep throwing yourself at it till it stops moving. Zero is our next opponent, and it's a one-on-one fight to supposedly up the challenge, and well... Finally, we catch up with Max, who is in the middle of a mental breakdown. Okay, sidebar real quick. Max's mental state is brought up a lot in the main story and is used as a reason why he's acting the way he is. It's basically written as a split personality, but with all the care of a sledgehammer. In one moment, it feels like we need to sympathize with Max, but then the next scene, it feels like the game is pointing at him going, "Look how crazy he is, he's so wacky and insane." The writing is abhorrent, not only in regards to mental health, but also racist stereotypes of its cast. Hell, Baron makes a joke about being the token black character, which I don't know if it's brilliant or sad, because it's fucking true. The other obvious thing to point out is that the entire female cast is just made for fan service. I don't inherently dislike sexy characters in games, but why is the main fan service character Sasha? She's shown to be smart, capable, kind, as well as being a proficient fighter who doesn't need to prove her skill to anyone. But so many cutscenes with her focus on her butt or her boobs that literally never stop moving, and like, I get it, sex sells, but You have Matilda right there. Yeah, no, the cyborg dominatrix. Actually, Matilda still bugs me. The point of her is she's supposed to be super strong. So of course she has the body of a supermodel because cyborg bullshit. Can't forget about the 3 Reen sisters, who on the surface don't seem as bad, until you think about it for too long and realize the only Asian reps in the game are 3 borderline fetishistic female assassins and a ninja voiced by a white guy, and maybe some people just shouldn't write characters. Coming back to the game, we fight Max again. Leo shows up, we have a little talk, before switching over to the white side story to start this shit show again. Now you'll visit the same locations as before, but on the 2nd level instead. Leo's first mission is an encounter with Durga to try and get some info. While fighting, the area gets carpet bombed, but luckily Rampage exists to make you invincible. One free mission you can do is to hunt a Cybrid Joe, and I hate these missions. They stagger only when they feel like it and run away all the time. It's a nuisance. Fuck my life. Next scene has Leo and Nikolai fighting a mob of kill seekers before heading into the sewers to fight off some mutants. Nikolai says it best hear about this and many more of the main story missions.
This was waste of time.
Durga shows up again riding atop Garuda, so the first part of this is throwing crap at him till the next cutscene plays. Sasha joins us later for a good old-fashioned team fight. I'll cover the full roster later, but Sasha is easily one of the better fighters. This is also one of the few times you actually unalive someone in the story. Rest in peace to the single vaguely South Asian character, and the robot too, I guess. The 3 agents head to the port. Leo reminisces about Max, and we get our first extremely obvious hint that Nikolai is probably not a good guy. To get things rolling, we do this awful mission where you use a helicopter to kill as many enemies as possible, including other flying enemies that can fly higher than you can aim. We then meet Oinky. Yep, cool. I hate everything about this fucker. We defeat him and get no information at all. Now, despite the fact that this takes place at the same time as the black side, you have to kill the Kraken again. At least this time you have more of a chance to actually hit it directly. Finally, we repeat the same fight between the 2 pro-tags. We see another attempt at serious drama with a flashback to the night Max's wife Ondine was murdered, presumably by Max, and I just don't care. They keep dancing around who actually did it by having Max admit to it, but then insinuating he was framed. I'm sure this will be resolved by the end. Hong Long is where the white side story loses all momentum. The first mission just introduces Faerine and Irene so you can unlock them, and then they leave the story right afterwards, never to be seen again. There's this horrible mission where you have to carry a briefcase to some goals, and no, you can't just throw them into the goals. That would be too easy. Oinky shows up again riding a berserker mutant. It's actually kind of a fun fight despite having no actual payoff other than poor attempts at comedy. The final mission is a repeat of the black side one where you fight Max, but I like this one better because Leo and Max's relationship is much more interesting to explore. Certainly one of the better aspects of the storytelling that was immediately ruined by the aforementioned horrible writing about mental health. I know it might seem weird to be so hung up by this, but given how the story is trying to have a more serious tone, I find myself being much harsher to its failings in tackling sensitive topics. Max escapes once again as we head into the final area. In the desert once more, the tension between Leo and Nikolai finally hits a breaking point, but not before you kill 3 Cybrid Joes.
Couldn't you just kill the overworld enemies to get enough points?
It's possible, but would take forever. You only get a small amount of points killing mobs between missions. The last couple of free missions have you killing mutants with a memory of Max and riding your own berserker mutant to kill a bunch of enemies including the Kraken and Cthulhu bot. The last story mission has you fight Douglas before teaming up with him to fend off mutants. His AI doesn't seem to register the quicksand as a hazard. You don't actually do the final mission since Jack has already beaten Max by this point, so you switch back to Jack for the red side finale. The first of the 2 final missions has has us fighting Leo again. Jack wants to kill Max while Leo wants him to be given a trial. After the scuffle, the whole gang of super friends shows up just in time for Nikolai to go full heel turn. I can't believe Nikolai was a bad guy all along. I would have never guessed. Does this mean he was the one who killed Undine and Stella?
Well, was he?
Fucked if I know, the writers forgot those two even existed about 2 hours ago. Nikolai spouts a massive word dump of pro-establishment bullshit, followed by Leo with his anti-establishment bullshit. It's a lot of words that don't actually mean a whole lot, given it's only covering the most bare-bones surface-level aspects. You fight with the whole crew, and there's no strategy involved whatsoever, you just have to hit him a lot. He loses a bit of health before taking out everyone except Leo and Jack. Now it's a 2v1 with the most boring final boss. The only difficulty is his shield, which just drags the fight out even more. During the final cutscene, Nikolai kills Jack and Leo while spouting some absolute nonsense about corruption and justice. I don't know if it was the fact that I was just incredibly tired at this point of the recording, or the writing had become so asinine that it all just went in one ear and out the other. Oh, also, this is all in Nikolai's head. In actuality, Jack cleaves him in half. So happy ending for all, where Nikolai gets taken to be charged for his crimes, or at least what's left of him. And there are definitely no loose ends that we need to tie up. Absolutely none. Congrats, we've reached the credits.
That was underwhelming.
You can say that again. The story is simultaneously a slog to get through while having no real substance to it. It tries to balance comedy with serious drama and fails at both. Not to mention, I had to play the entire thing again, but starting with Whiteside so that I could play Redside as Leo, all to unlock one character. To bring ourselves away from the pool of negativity, let's look at some of the other highlights from this title. You can't talk about Anarchy Reigns without mentioning its absolute banger of a soundtrack. Hip-hop and rap suits the frantic nature of fights flawlessly. Instead of just telling you though, take a listen.
Such a chitter-chat, I ain't really into that. I just like to counteract on the point of the attack. Check my resume, it can happen any day. They trying to wipe us out, but then again, I got something to say.
Take a good look, got you sprung, got you hooked. If looks were a crime, I'd be the biggest crook. My sexy lips, dreamy eyes, look into my eyes. I'll put you under my spell, I got you hypnotized.
You don't know me and you don't know I'm going through, so fuck you and your lame ass point of view. That should have been my whole mission from the start. You putting it together, I tear it all apart. What? Gotta get mine, stepping through this minefield, and what's not mine becomes mine. You mine? That's the way I gotta take it from the mans. Put a price up on the fans, I put let up in the stand.
The music is utilized more for giving a certain feeling rather than having character themes or anything like that. The songs are shuffled and played randomly during multiplayer matches. The story mode does a good job selecting tracks that best fit who or what you're fighting, and despite being a terrible boss, the final fight does have a fantastic song.
The things that you conceal, they can't hide you. The things that you reveal, they can't guide you. What you thought was real is just a lie too. If you can't find the truth will find you.
Keeping with the artistic aspects, let's look at the art. Yeah, that's a transition. Masaki Yamanaka was the main artist, which makes sense given he also worked on Mad World as well as a few other Platinum games. A lot of concept art was included in the extras, and it gives some interesting insight into the pipeline of how we got where we are. A few good examples are Leo and Nikolai's cybernetics being much more organic in nature, which I really dig. I wish they did something with this concept. Jack had a similar outfit to his final design, but I don't think it would have worked as well. Baron certainly had an interesting concept. And then we have Sasha, who looks better in nearly all of her concept art. Like, why couldn't we get the scythe? It's so cool. Finally, this is just a cool Matilda outfit. To finish off this video, I wanted to look at each character while making a tier list. But I need you to listen to me. While making this video, I came across the fact that this game has tech, and like, a decent chunk of it. So everything I thought about the combat was turned on its head. The first thing that most characters have access to is a killer weapon glitch. Doing a weak air weapon attack, then immediately holding triangle can cause a character to land while doing their heavy weapon attack without using any meter. This can catch people off guard, and the best characters can combo into it. Next is the variety of cancels, so get your notebooks ready. To start simple, we have the guard cancel. Guarding while doing certain moves will cancel the animation, making it a good option for fainting. Jump cancelling lets you cancel the end of some moves to jump and continue strings with air attacks. The female cast plus the two bots can anti-air out of lean attacks. Anti-air cancel is a technique I still can't get down right, but can extend combos to deadly levels. The final one I'll cover is twitch cancel, which is a technique where while guarding, you can still attack, but pressing the killer weapon button at certain points after certain attacks, you essentially reset the combo, allowing for loops. There are more techniques, but I was struggling just to get these down.
Not to mention that sometimes the killer weapon damage can glitch out doing more for no real reason.
So keep all this in mind as we delve into the tier list, as how a character utilizes these glitches and tech really shapes how they are played. I will say that everyone is viable, but some are, well, more viable than others. Faerine is one of the deadliest characters due to the three sisters all being able to easily jump cancel. What makes Faye stand above the rest is her incredibly fast killer weapon attacks and range, being able to combo into an anti-air and finishing with her heavy killer weapon to deal massive uninterruptible damage. Her only weakness being her low defense, which is mitigated by a great dodge and 360 attack. Zero shares a lot of the positives of Faerine, but with the key difference that he has two unique glitches. First is one that only works with lag, where his heavy weapon attack can be done twice in succession. His second lets him get a quick heavy weapon after a weak weapon attack. Zero's speed is unmatched, and he has wild combo potential even without using cancels. And with cancels, he's nigh unstoppable. Irene has all the same benefits of her sisters, but her killer weapon allows her to have some unique combos that are fairly easy to pull off. She has a decent ground to air game, but her lack of a good charge attack and low defense keeps her from the top. Rin can get some high damage combos from similar setups to her sisters, but she also lacks some of the deadliness of their heavy weapon attacks. Her fans are great for sweeping across groups. Definitely a strong fighter, but her sisters do outshine her. Bayo makes the most out of the weapon glitch along with her high damage output. She combos incredibly well into the glitch. Taking most of her moves from her original game makes her quick combos very hard to deal with. She's great for catching people off guard, but if they get a read on her, she doesn't have the shield pressure to break through their defenses easily. Douglas is an offensive machine and eats shields for breakfast. This is mainly due to his ridiculous dash attack that has iframes and having super armor on a lot of his moves. He has great combo potential as well as the defense of a heavy character to boot. He's only let down by a less than stellar jab and low speed. Baron has some great tools to keep on the pressure, which feels fitting for a boxer. He can land a flurry of air attacks and has a ton of potential with cancels, if you can pull them off. He also has a glitch where his weapon attack can one-hit KO if the connection is laggy enough. He does suffer from having some very punishable moves and a lack of a good charge attack. Overall, a solid character. Sasha plays very much how you would expect. Not as physically strong, but her speed and precision more than make up for it. She has many options, from doing jump cancels to an easily steerable charge attack. Her cinematic move is easy to land out of combos too, making her air game deadly. If her defenses were better, she could easily be an S tier character. Durga's main claim to the A tier is his killer weapon being the only fully ranged one. This gives him a slew of options in many scenarios. He's a great kill stealer and can keep up pressure on someone trying to escape. He is very fragile though, with his guard being absolutely terrible. Leo is great at juggling and his shield pressure is phenomenal. He has a lot of launch potential from his killer weapon, as well as making him difficult to break free from. He also is incredibly squishy, but does have a great dodge to help with that. He does seem like a character who needs a bit of commitment to see some truly remarkable results. Jack being in the middle makes a lot of sense. He has simple but deadly combos coming in with 3 cinematic moves. He's tanky and has great shield pressure, but his speed is sorely lacking, and his heavier attacks are very unsafe, leaving him vulnerable. Despite my disdain for this atrocity, he's not terrible. He's a very ground-based fighter that does need some effort to use effectively. His attacks can scare people into making mistakes, and when he does get going, he can combo surprisingly well. He doesn't have the best heavy attacks though, as they leave too much of an opening. Big Bull is, well, big, meaning he is a huge target for everyone else on the field. This does, however, mean his damage output is very high without much effort. He gains a lot from simple cancel combos, but as with a lot of the bigger casts, his lack of mobility hurts him a lot. Nikolai is very good at keeping in his opponent's face while having the ability to break away when needed. I do find, however, his heavy and weapon attacks just to be a little too sluggish. He feels like he needs the player to use cancels to keep up with the higher tiered fighters, which is not always an easy thing to do. Garuda is a much more defensive character, which is a blessing and a curse for him. On one hand, he has some great defense and damage, but he has some very slow moves, and a good majority of his killer weapon attacks feel lacking. The only niche thing with these is the potential to combo into the killer weapon glitch. It is fun though that light characters can ride on top of you in team modes, having the same base moveset as Garuda but with an arguably worse weapon. Some bias might be showing here because I had to play through the whole story mode a second time to unlock him, and he wasn't worth the effort. Matilda has some decent shield pressure and the fastest charged killer weapon attack that does devastating damage. Unfortunately for her, she's a female in this game, so her defense is horrendously bad and she doesn't have the mobility to make up for it. Her combos feel very hard to get right, and even then it seems like people can fall out of them very easily. Her negatives vastly outweigh the positives. Max feels like he should be better than he is, but as with Nikolai, he's just too slow to really capitalize on situations. His combos aren't terrible, but the timings for anything advanced are very tight. I found his shield pressure severely lacking as well. His one strength above everyone else is that he has the fastest healing factor. So here is the final tier list. Please place your discourse in the comments below. I liked Anarchy Reigns. I think it's a very fun game to play in its multiplayer modes, even if it's just against the bots. The gameplay holds up surprisingly well, especially with the addition of complex tech, and I absolutely adore the music. But as a single player experience, the story is awful and does not have nearly enough good missions to make up for it. The horrendous writing has really soured my view on this title. Nostalgia really obscured my memories. I really didn't think it was this bad. So I think I'll let Anarchy Reigns rest on the shelf, or I guess the console storage. That doesn't really have the same ring to it. Anyway, if you played Anarchy Reigns, let me know your thoughts. Do you think it holds up, or does it belong in the forgotten void of video games past? I hope you have an awesome day.
This is madness, madness.